I thought we were the perfect family, planning the ultimate surprise for the woman I loved. Little did I know, while the kids and I were painting her favorite room a soft lavender to welcome her home from her business trip, she was busy building a new life with someone else. The betrayal wasn't just a secret. It was a total demolition of everything I believed was true. If you think you know your spouse, wait until you hear what I found in the guest room closet. This is a story of how a simple act of love turned into the biggest mistake of my entire life. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand the foundation of our marriage to truly grasp the scale of the devastation that followed. My name is Mark, and I've been married to Sarah for 12 years. We have two beautiful children, Leo, who is 8, and Mia, who is 6. Sarah has always been the pillar of our home, ambitious, organized, and deeply affectionate. She works as a high-level consultant for a global logistics firm, which means she travels quite a bit. Usually, it's just a few days here and there, but this time, she was scheduled to be in Chicago for a full 10 days. It was the longest she had ever been away from us. Before she left, things felt normal. Or at least, I thought they were normal. We had our usual Sunday morning routine: pancakes, coffee, and planning the week ahead. Sarah seemed a bit more stressed than usual, which I attributed to the magnitude of the project she was handling in Chicago. She was distracted, often checking her phone, but in our world, that's just part of the grind. I kissed her goodbye at the airport, promising her that the kids and I would hold down the fort. Leo and Mia were sad to see her go, clinging to her legs as she checked her bags. She knelt down, looked them in the eyes, and promised she'd be back before they knew it. To me, she said, "I love you, Mark. Take care of them." Those were the last words of the woman I thought I knew. Once she was gone, I decided I wanted to do something special. Sarah had been complaining about our master bedroom and the adjacent guest suite for months. She hated the beige walls. She called them soul-crushing. She had a Pinterest board full of serene sanctuaries with soft purples, grays, and modern accents. I decided that as a surprise, the kids and I would spend the week repainting the entire suite and upgrading the furniture. It was going to be a massive undertaking, but I wanted her to come home to a space that felt like a reward for all her hard work. The kids were ecstatic. They felt like they were part of a secret mission. We went to the hardware store on Monday morning, picking out the exact shades of lavender and dove gray she had saved on her tablet. We bought new linens, a plush rug, and even some framed photos of our last trip to the coast. The house was a mess of drop cloths and paint cans, but the atmosphere was filled with joy. We were working together for Mom. Every stroke of the brush was a thank you for everything she did for us. However, by Wednesday, things started to feel a little off. Usually, Sarah calls every night at 7 p.m. to tuck the kids in via FaceTime. On Monday, she called, but it was brief, only 3 minutes. She said the hotel Wi-Fi was spotty and she had a late dinner with clients. On Tuesday, she didn't call at all. She just sent a text saying she was exhausted and heading to bed. By Wednesday evening, when the phone remained silent, a small seed of anxiety was planted in my chest. I brushed it off. She was working 14-hour days, I told myself. I shouldn't be needy. On Thursday, the real work began. We were moving the heavy furniture in the guest suite to paint the back wall. This room was rarely used, mostly serving as Sarah's secondary office or a place for her sister to stay. To get to the wall, I had to empty out the large walk-in closet. As I started pulling out old coats and boxes of holiday decorations, I noticed a suitcase tucked far into the back corner, hidden behind some garment bags. It wasn't our usual luggage. It was a high-end, designer trunk that I didn't recognize. At first, I thought maybe she had bought it recently and forgotten to tell me. But when I pulled it out, it felt heavy. My curiosity got the better of me. It wasn't locked. When I opened it, my heart didn't just drop, it stopped. Inside weren't clothes for a business trip. Inside were legal documents, a second cell phone, and a folder labeled relocation. I sat on the floor of that half-painted room, the smell of fresh lavender paint thick in the air, and started reading. The documents were shocking. There were lease agreements for an apartment in Chicago, signed 2 months ago. There were bank statements for an account I never knew existed, showing thousands of dollars being funneled away from our joint savings into this private fund. But the worst part was the phone. I turned it on. It wasn't password protected. The home screen was a photo of Sarah, looking happier than I'd seen her in years, leaning against a man I didn't recognize. I opened the messages. They were filled with months of correspondence with this man, whom she called Julian. It wasn't just an affair. They were planning a life. The business trip wasn't a business trip at all. She was in Chicago with him, finalizing the move-in details for their new place. She wasn't planning on coming back to us. She was planning on coming back to pack the rest of her things while I was at work, and then vanishing. I felt a surge of nausea so strong I had to lean against the wall. My kids were in the other room, laughing as they colored a welcome home banner. The irony was a physical blow. I was painting a sanctuary for a woman who was already halfway out the door. I spent the next 3 hours scrolling through those messages. I saw her complaining about my predictability. I saw her talking about how the kids would adjust once she got settled and sought custody. She spoke about our life as if it were a prison sentence she was finally finishing. The pain turned into a cold, hard rage. I looked at the lavender paint on my hands, the color she wanted, the color I was using to show her I loved her. I looked at the welcome home banner. I realized then that the woman I loved didn't exist. She was a ghost, a facade she had maintained until she could afford to drop it. I knew I couldn't just sit there and wait. I had to act, but I had to be smart. If she was planning a tactical exit, I was going to give her a tactical scorched earth response. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I didn't confront her over the phone. Instead, I called a locksmith and a lawyer. If she wanted a new life in Chicago, I was going to help her start it immediately. Since the house was in my name, inherited from my grandfather before we married, I had legal grounds to protect the property. My lawyer, a shark of a man named Marcus, told me exactly what to do. On Friday, while the kids were at school and Sarah thought I was still blissfully painting, I packed every single one of her belongings. And I mean everything. I didn't just pack her clothes. I packed her shoes, her vanity, her books, and even that designer trunk I found. I hired a local moving crew and told them I needed a rush job. I had everything loaded into a shipping container. I then finished the painting. Not in the lavender she wanted. I went back to the store and bought the most obnoxious, bright, neon orange I could find. I painted "Goodbye, Sarah" in massive letters across the master bedroom wall. I moved the kids' things into my room and locked the guest suite. Sarah was scheduled to fly back on Sunday night. I knew she'd expect me to pick her up. I sent her a text. Can't make it to the airport. Took the kids to my mom's for the night, so you could have some peace and quiet. See you at home. I wasn't at home. I was at my mother's, watching the feed from our Ring doorbell. Around 9 p.m., her Uber pulled up. She walked up to the door, looking chic and refreshed. She tried her key. It didn't work. The locksmith had changed the cylinders 2 days prior. She looked confused. She rang the doorbell. I answered via the app. "Hey, Sarah," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "Mark? The key isn't working." "Why are the lights off?" she asked, sounding annoyed. "The key doesn't work because you don't live here anymore," I replied. "I found the trunk, Sarah. I found the apartment lease in Chicago. I found Julian." The silence on the other end was deafening. I watched her face through the camera. The annoyance vanished, replaced by a pale, stark terror. She started to stammer. "Mark, I can explain. It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I interrupted. "Your things are already on their way to your new apartment in Chicago. I sent the shipping container yesterday. I've already filed for divorce, and I've requested an emergency hearing regarding the kids based on your documented plans to relocate them without my consent. Don't bother coming to the door. The police have been notified that you are no longer a resident here." She started screaming, pounding on the door, crying that she loved the kids and that I couldn't do this. But the evidence in that trunk, the relocation folder, was her undoing. She had written down her plan to take the kids and leave me with nothing. Seeing her break down on the porch didn't give me the satisfaction I thought it would. It just made me sad. Sad for the 12 years I wasted on a lie. The legal battle was grueling. Sarah tried to claim that she was just scouting for a better life for the family, but the messages with Julian proved otherwise. They had been together for over a year. He was a contractor for her firm, and they had been skimming money from her travel expenses to fund their new life. Because she had actively planned to move the children across state lines without notifying me, the judge granted me primary physical custody while the divorce was pending. As for the house, I repainted the neon orange. I let the kids pick the new color. They chose space blue. We turned the guest suite into a playroom, a place for joy and laughter instead of secrets and luggage. Sarah moved to Chicago permanently. Julian, as it turns out, wasn't as committed to the new life as she was once the drama started. When he realized she wouldn't be bringing a massive settlement from our house or immediate access to the kids, he vanished. Last I heard, she's working a much lower-paying job and living in a small studio, far from the sanctuary she thought she was building. The kids ask about her, and I never badmouth her. I tell them Mom lives far away and they can talk to her on the weekends. They're resilient, but I can see the flicker of confusion in Leo's eyes sometimes. He remembers the lavender paint. He remembers the surprise we were building. I told him that sometimes surprises don't turn out the way we expect, but that doesn't mean we stop trying to be kind. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it rebrands your reality. I look at photos of our wedding now and I don't see love, I see a performance. But I also see my kids, and I know that I did the right thing by protecting them from a woman who was willing to treat them like luggage in her own escape plan. This story is a reminder that the people we think we know best can sometimes be the ones we don't know at all. If you enjoyed this Reddit story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more intense tales of betrayal and justice. Have you ever planned a surprise that went horribly wrong? Or have you ever discovered a secret that changed everything? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And remember, always trust your gut. If something feels off, it usually is. Don't be afraid to look in the back of the closet. You might just find the truth you were never meant to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay vigilant, and take care of the people who actually care for you.